Alright, so what did I think about the Las Vegas NXL Open? My name's Greg, you're watching How to Play Paintball. Okay, so first of all, thank you everybody for jumping along or coming along with me when I did the vlog, doing the every single day, having updates of what happened and all that. But what I wanted to do is do a recap of the event, like the venue, the schedule, the actual field itself, the refs, so on and so forth, maybe some improvements that they can make. So I want to jump into that. And hopefully, if there is anybody from the NXL watching, it's just constructive criticism for anything that I mention. Yeah, this is just what happened at the event. So I'm going to do the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. All right, so first off, venue, it's a beautiful venue. I thought the weather was great, even later on in the day when it did heat up a little bit. I think because there wasn't humidity, it didn't really affect, well, it didn't affect me really at all because I'm used to 300% humidity here in Florida. But the actual venue itself I thought was great. The grass itself, I'll get into the fields in a little bit, so I'll hold off on that one. But the vendor area was nice. Everything was laid out in a really easy way to navigate. Wasn't too much of a maze or anything like that. I really liked how they had the paint trucks right next to the divisional fields. No offense to the pro guys, but usually pro guys are going to have a lot more people to help out. So having the trucks right there next to the divisional field made a huge difference. It just made life a lot easier. Ultimately, the divisional teams are the lifeblood of the league itself. So you want to make sure that you're making them happy. Of course, you want to make the pros happy as well. They have a lot more money going into it, but in comparison to, from semi-pro all the way down to even like the mechanical, they had that division going on. I didn't get to watch any of those games, but, 10-man, they have all these other divisions going on, and that's a lot more money overall coming in for that event. So I really liked how they did that. Like I said, though, the venue itself was really nice. Parking was a little weird. They had spots further up, but they made you park further back, which usually it's the other way around. They park the first people there closer and then slowly work their way back. So that was a little bit weird. It wasn't too long of a walk, so it wasn't unbearable. Getting to our actual field itself, it didn't take more than a couple minutes. So when you're talking with everybody, it's not that big of a deal. So that was a little bit strange. I don't know if maybe the reffing crew, if the parking crew had been told park people here first, or maybe they got it confused. I don't know. Regardless, there was like another entrance that you could park at, which nobody was really monitoring, so you actually still could get closer. Yeah, maybe that's what they can change a little bit, is figuring out exactly the parking situation so that way it's all ironed out. Because usually at World Cup, it's like, it's perfect. They have somebody there, okay, park here. It's just a matter of, okay, go down to that guy, take a left, and he's going to direct you to this lady, and this lady is going to help you with figuring out where to park. So I guess that would be a critique. It's kind of nitpicky because, like I said, ultimately it wasn't a huge issue. Okay, so the actual schedule, I thought it ran pretty smoothly. It was weird for us, though. For whatever reason, our field, and I think some other fields had the same thing, instead of it being split deck, they put us into just regular X-ball, so it was 2 minutes in between each point. I don't really mind it. It's not that big of a deal to me, but it does make a difference. So we weren't told ahead of time, so that's less time to figure things out between points. It just ultimately, it was kind of weird that they didn't tell us that, and then, we get there, and then we looked at the schedule, and there's only the team that we're playing against, and there's nobody in the other section, because usually there'll be like, team A versus team B, and then C versus D, and it'll tell you what pit you're going to go into, the home or away, red or blue, all that. They have it all laid out, but it was just us and whoever we were playing, so we thought that was kind of weird. Especially earlier in the day, it would make sense to get those out of the way and then have the other games a little bit later. The more X-ball style games a little bit later, just because it was a scheduling thing. I don't know, we were just kind of thrown off by it when all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess we're playing kind of more traditional X-ball. So again, that's kind of a nitpicky thing, but I do agree with somebody on the team had mentioned, like, okay, but we didn't know. So it is an issue because, he was saying basically now we have less time to figure stuff out. Team I was playing with, we didn't have a coach, so it was like a player coach. You guys had seen him in the interview that I did with Bianca. So he was like a player coach, so he'd come back into the pit, have to process everything that just happened, figure out the next line. There was somebody else in the pit that was sort of kind of quarterbacking as well. But for a team that actually has a coach, it makes a big difference. So I don't know. I just wish that they had at least told us. We could have planned accordingly for that. But it's not the end of the world, essentially. The field itself, I thought was great. I didn't notice any, dips, or I call them bear traps, where it's just like a hole in the ground. I played one event in Texas where there was just like this pit, and it was like, what? If I put my foot in there, I'm going to break my ankle, when you're running. So this one, it was pretty flat. I think I'd mentioned that it was kind of like tilted a little bit. And again, that's being nitpicky. I agree with you if somebody's already like typing that out, like, Greg, why would you say that? That's messed up. I agree with you, but this is just something that I noticed, that it was tilted just a little bit, but at least it was even on both sides. So it'd be like Snake was here and then Dorito was here. So at least it wasn't like that, where the W's here and then each you can shoot down on somebody, because that does change the game unevenly for either side. But you're switching sides, so I guess it's not the end of the world. I just noticed that little bit of a tilt, but all fields can't be perfect. But ultimately, like, there wasn't any rocks, there wasn't really anything. I thought the grass was perfect. The ground was a little bit hard, but we're in the desert, so I think it's just a matter of the like clay or whatever that's there. With the grass on top, it's just hard ground. That's why you have knee pads and slider shorts. So it wasn't terrible. It wasn't something. When I flew out and practiced with Excessive, when initially I was going to be trying out for them before all that stuff happened, where they ended up not being a team, before they had broken apart, I got invited out to go and play with them. And the field out there, that's hard ground. It was like concrete, essentially, is what it felt like, and then like really, really thin turf. So you would dive and just feel it, no matter how many pads you had on. So yeah, that wasn't fun. So this one wasn't that bad, but the ground was a little bit harder, but I wasn't having issues with my cleats, slipping or anything like that. Like, it wasn't too hard that it was just grinding across the top. The tooth of the cleat could still make its way in, and I was able to slide fine. I didn't have any issues with that. So, and actually the grass, I think, lasted well throughout the event. Usually you'll get all these dead patches because people are sliding, and eventually you start ripping out the grass. I didn't really notice that, actually, now that I think about it. There really wasn't anything. The snakes on our field did start to get dusty. So when you would start crawling down the snake, like, dust would start coming up. So if you're trying to be sneaky and somebody looked over and they see just this, so you would know that somebody was in there. But it's nothing you can do. But it's really dry. Like, I think just once the dust had a chance to come up, it's going to be able to go up. It doesn't have, any moisture or anything like holding it there. It was kind of funny watching games, and like you would see somebody crawling down the snake and just this dust coming up behind them, so you would know somebody was in the snake. Yeah, so ultimately, like, our field was great. I didn't hear any complaints from other fields, like, oh, we have this huge, hole here, or they're not inflating the bunkers. Like, the bunkers lasted completely fine for us. Like, I didn't hear anything in regards to that. Which leads to my next point, the reffing. So I'll be the first to say that reffing is a tough job. I'm actually going to be reffing in 2 weeks for one of the local events here. And I understand it's tough. The flip side of that, though, is you are still getting paid, and you did sign up to do something. So if you're not doing your job, then why are you there? So we had a couple issues where refs just threw random penalty. Like, one of the players on our team must have gotten clipped. The grills, how they have that part that goes up like that. He got clipped on the very, very top part, and it was a one-on-one, and I think we were up, so it didn't make a difference. So he shot the guy, and then they said, oh no, you're out. But then the ref behind him said, no, that's a penalty. But one ref went like this, saying that it was a trade, which was fine because that would have killed time off the clock for us. But now that became a swing point, and we started down with 2 bodies because it was a major. And it was just like, what are you talking about? Like, you need to talk with the other ref. The other one already made the call, so no, flip that back. It's a no point. It was a dead point. It's what it should have been. Yeah, just refs that, like, I understand that they're not going to be able to see everything, and I'm not saying, complaining about stuff like that, because I do agree that it's tough to see everything. But there were times where it's like, I don't know what this ref is even looking at. We're in the pit, and we see a guy get a huge hit on his arm, and I mean, like, a fat hit. And it wasn't like there was just a little bit of paint. Like, it was a good amount of paint, and it was just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not going in and checking him? And then the guy tried to dive, and it looked like he was trying to wipe it, but still didn't even wipe it off. And then at the end of the point, the ref checked him, and I was like, that would have been a kill off the break. Like, I don't get what you're doing. So ultimately, I mean, I understand that the better refs are going to be in the higher divisions. I was playing Division 2, which should still be some decent refs. I mean, that's right below semi-pro, and then the next one up there is pro. And even on the pro field, I saw some stuff that I was like, that shouldn't have been a penalty, or that should have been a penalty. Like the Russians, when they had gotten some random penalty when everything was clean. I was in the grandstands watching, and they bunkered one of the guys on impact and then shot the last guy, and then they just got some random penalty out of nowhere. So that was messed up. But then they did that really cool thing, which, side note, that was one of the most amazing plays I've ever seen in my life. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it already, where some people put it up on Facebook, where the Russians walk over to the box and then at 10 seconds sprint to the other box. Just so that you guys know what happened there, the point before was a no point. So you don't switch sides unless there's a point scored. So the Russians knew this, which was incredible, and they tricked Impact, which I thought was it was an amazing play. So they walked over to the other box, and at 10 seconds sprinted to the other side. So by the time that Impact saw them passing the W, they already had lost 3 or 4 seconds, and it takes time to get to the other box, which leads into another thing that if you watch the video, you see J-Rab doesn't tag up, but then he tags up late and then starts shooting, and I'm like, how is that not a major? But it became a 5-on-1 essentially, and then they won that point in 15 seconds. It was an amazing play. The Russians did it perfectly. I thought it was an incredible play. So props to them, because I was watching and just like, and then I had to applaud them. I was like, that was incredible. I think everybody else in the grandstand started applauding them, which I was like, man, that was really good. So I don't know if it's just a matter of having more ref clinics or having people that have more experience reffing, but I do understand that it's hard to get refs, so I don't want to harp on that too much, because ultimately the better refs they're going to be putting in the higher divisions in pro and semi-pro, then it kind of trickles down from there. So you're not always going to get the best refs on your field, which I understand, but I did want to mention that was an issue that we had, and even just stuff that, like, I took a hit in my ribs going up to that second can on the D side, and I saw a little bit of paint. I'm like, am I hit? And the ref went like this. I got back into the pit, huge hit on my ribs. And I'm like, why didn't he should have called me out? Like, I was asking, like, hey, is this a hit? And because I saw I saw a little bit of paint, but it was kind of like faded, like it like seeped into the jersey. And I was like, is this? And he was like, nope, you're clean. I'm like, nope, that was a hit. Like, you should have called me out. So just stuff like that, where the ref should have ran in. Like, he just kind of looked at me and was like, yeah, you're clean. No, you're supposed to run in and check the player and see what's going on. So, yeah. So, ultimately, props to the refs. I don't want it to seem, again, like I'm harping on them, but I just wanted to bring that up. All right, so some improvements. One thing is there weren't any gun stands in the pits. Usually they have those wooden cutout gun stands. I don't know if just somebody forgot to ship all of them, because I know the pros had them, but there weren't any on our field, and I don't think I saw any on the other fields. So, when I was kind of walking around talking with people, and it's just a nice improvement. I mean, it's not something now you kind of expect it, because they did it all last year, and I think the year before, whenever they had first started, they included it. So just as a nice place you can put your gun down. It's all cut out, and then it's a rack of like 8 or 10 slots. So you have a spot for your barrel and your tank, so it kind of like holds it there. So we had to just kind of like lay him down, which isn't a big deal. I mean, I've played long enough that that's how it was. Like, you just had all the guns laid out on the table. So what are you going to do? The other thing is there's a weird delay with the buzzer. So when you hit the buzzer, sometimes the clock still counts down another like 2 or 3 seconds, and then the buzzer goes off to end the point. That's really messed up. Like, ultimately, let's say that there was, I don't know, let's just easy math. Let's just say 5 points. If there's 3 seconds for every single point, that's 15 seconds. That's enough time to score, like the Russians did, score a point, a quick point. So all of a sudden you're losing all this time, and it's like, I don't get what's going on with that delay between the buzzer. Same thing, I think, even with the concede button, because there's like a little keychain thing that you have to pick up. There's this little hole, or not, sorry, not a hole. It looks almost like a battery, like the small silver batteries. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, like the little silver ones, and you have to press the two things together and kind of press into it. And that way you can't do a false buzzer accidentally. You have to actually push into it, so you can't accidentally do that. But even with that, there was a delay, and it's just kind of like you're conceding because you want to have enough time to get that point back and then another one. So like those couple seconds could mean the difference. I mean, we had a game that we could have tied up, and I was sprinting in because we ended up shooting the last couple guys, and there was only a couple seconds left. If I had an extra 2 seconds, I would have made it and hit the buzzer, and I was clean. Like, nobody shot at me, so that could have been a difference in our score and maybe pushed us in to Sunday. Like, it's just things like that where I know that's being nitpicky, but it still is part of the game. You're losing points. You're losing time, which isn't good. It's not something that is a good thing. You want to have enough time to come back on a team if you need to, but if they don't account for that time that was lost, then you lost out on 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, that's ultimately kind of NXL Vegas in a nutshell. Thank you again so much to Prime for letting me jump in. It's a great group of guys. Like I had said before, go check out Bianca's blog, that Art and the Zen. Zen and the Art of Paintball. Sorry, let me correct myself. Zen and the Art of Paintball. That's his blog. Great guy. A lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge. So thank you to Bianca for everything that you've helped me out with, and also for letting me jump on with Prime. And then also thanks for jumping along with me, guys. I do appreciate it. I wanted to say a quick shout out to Mike's Paintball, just for the support that they've given me and the channel. It's just incredible. It's really cool that I was able to meet some of you guys as well. Some of you that came up and said hi. So please, if you see me, say hi. The only time that I would say don't is if we're like mid-game or like just about to go on to a game. If you see that we're in the pit, like, just hold off a little bit, because I just mentally want to be there. So it's nothing against you guys. It's just I'm competitive. Like, I want to be able to go and win. So it's not me being a jerk. And then also, real quick, you guys had seen that the tank top, we do have those for sale at ruthlesspaintballproducts.com, and you'll just search through the site and you'll see how to play paintball. There's a section there. Tank tops are $20, and the t-shirts are $25. And it's $5 flat shipping, regardless of however many you buy. So if you buy one, it'll be $5. If you buy 100, it'll be $5 for shipping. So please go and support the channel and myself. And as always, guys, remember, watch, learn, win. Thanks.